Are boundaries destroying your relationship? Setting boundaries in relationships is like trying to put out a fire with gasoline. You think you're solving the problem, but you're actually making it way worse. And the worst part is, most couples have no idea that they're doing it. Picture this: your partner keeps showing up late for date night. It's frustrating, right? So you set a boundary. If you're more than 15 minutes late, I'm leaving. Seems reasonable, right? But what if I told you that this boundary might be slowly eroding your relationship? As a relationship coach, I've seen it time and time again. Members come to me exhausted from the constant power struggle that boundaries create. They're stuck in a cycle of resentment and disconnection, all because of these misguided attempts to protect themselves. The truth is, boundaries are kind of bullshit. But if boundaries aren't the answer, what is? Well, that's exactly what we're going to dive into in this video. We'll unpack why traditional boundaries can be so damaging, and we'll explore healthier alternatives that can bring you closer together instead of pushing you apart. So, what are boundaries? So, for those of you who don't know, at their core, boundaries are rules or limits that we establish to protect our physical, emotional, and mental well-being in relationships. It's all about drawing the proverbial line in the sand and saying, this is what I'm comfortable with, and this is what I'm not okay with. Some examples of boundaries include things like, I need alone time to recharge, I'm not comfortable with you going through my phone, or I don't appreciate being spoken to in that tone of voice. The idea is that setting these limits, we're creating a safe space for ourselves and our partner to interact with in a healthier way. But here's the thing, a lot of people have serious misconceptions about what boundaries actually are and how they work. They can think that simply by stating their boundary, their partner will magically respect it. Like they can just say, I need you to stop leaving your dirty socks on the floor, and poof, there's no more socks. If only it were that easy, right? In reality, boundaries are a two-way street. They require open communication, mutual understanding, and a willingness to compromise from both partners. It's not about one person laying down the law and the other person just falling into line. That's not a boundary, that's a dictatorship. And let's be honest, even when partners have the best intentions, boundary setting can still be tricky. It's easy to fall into the trap of using boundaries as a way to control our partner's behavior rather than as a tool for self-care and mutual respect. People can find themselves implying things like, if you loved me, you would respect my boundaries, which ultimately is just a manipulation tactic in disguise. So while boundaries are often touted as the holy grail of healthy relationships, the truth is that they're not always as straightforward as they seem. They can actually hold a lot of hidden dangers that will cause way more harm than good. So why can traditional boundaries harm your relationship? So there are some real hidden dangers lurking beneath the surface of traditional boundary setting. And here's the harsh truth. Boundaries only work if you have the power to enforce them. And in most relationships, that power dynamic is rarely equal. Just think about it. If you're financially dependent on your partner, or if they hold more social clout, setting a boundary can feel like a risky game of chicken. You end up losing more than you gain. But it's not just about power. Even in relatively balanced relationships, boundaries can create an atmosphere of constant negotiation and scorekeeping. Every interaction becomes a transaction, with both partners vigilantly guarding their emotional territory. It's exhausting, and it slowly chips away at the foundation of trust and intimacy that healthy relationships are all built on. And don't just take my word for it, the research backs it up as well. Studies have shown that couples who rely heavily on boundaries report lower levels of relationship satisfaction and higher levels of conflict. It's kind of like trying to build a house by just putting up walls instead of laying down a solid foundation. Everything's going to collapse eventually. And here's the thing, boundaries can actually become a tool for control and manipulation. When one partner consistently violates the other's boundaries, it creates a cycle of resentment and retaliation. The boundary setter feels disrespected and powerless, while the boundary crosser feels unfairly constrained. It's a lose-lose situation that can quickly and easily spiral out of control. So, what is the alternative? How can we protect ourselves and our relationships without falling into the trap of toxic boundary setting? Well, the key lies into shifting our focus from external control to internal control. With boundaries, we create a hard line in the sand as to where external situations can't hurt us. In this way, we're always telling people what they should and shouldn't do in order to accommodate us. We put the responsibility on other people to accommodate our emotions. In this way, it feels like boundaries are empowering, but they actually help to weaken our emotional resilience. They're actually very disempowering. We build a life where we're avoiding discomfort or pain. Whereas when we develop our internal control, building our emotional resilience, then we become much freer, much more resilient to the world around us, resilient to the external factors of the world. When it comes to resilience, imagine yourself as a tree that bends with the wind instead of snapping under pressure. That's the kind of resilience we need to cultivate in our relationships for ourselves. Instead of trying to control the wind, aka our partner's behavior, we need to learn how to manage our own emotions and our own reactions. It's about being flexible without being a pushover and standing firm in our values without becoming rigid or inflexible. But how do we actually do that? Just before we jump in, if you really want to take your relationship skills to the next level and learn about all of this on a much deeper level, then I invite you to join my free relationship bootcamp. In it, I'll share some of my most powerful tools for cultivating a thriving relationship from the ground up. Just click on the link below to learn more and sign up today. So what is a better approach? What is the alternative to traditional boundaries? It's all about learning how to be like that tree, flexible and strong at the core. The key is to focus on managing your own emotions and reactions rather than trying to control your partner's behavior. Here's what I mean about being a tree. Let's say your partner has a habit of making insensitive jokes that really get under your skin. Your first instinct might be to set a boundary. If you make one more joke like that, I'm leaving the room. But as we've seen, that approach can backfire. So instead, try this. The next time your partner makes a hurtful joke, take a deep breath, tune into your own emotions. Notice the anger, the hurt, the ego dent, but instead of lashing out or shutting down, try to express those feelings calmly and directly. So you might say something like, hey, when you make jokes like that, I sometimes feel a little bit disrespected and disconnected from you. I'd really like for you to understand how much those jokes affect me. You see the difference? You're not trying to control your partner's behavior or tell them what to do. You're actually focusing on your own emotional experience and communicating it clearly. It's a subtle shift, but it can make a world of difference. Of course, this is easier said than done. It takes practice to learn how to manage intense emotions in that moment. And that's where it's important to start learning how to be mindful. By cultivating the awareness of your thoughts and your feelings, you can create a little bit of space between the trigger and your reaction. You can learn to respond instead of react. Next, it's important to have open communication. Another key strategy is to have deep, honest conversations with your partner about your needs, your values, your beliefs and ideas. Instead of setting rigid boundaries, try to explore what really matters to each of you, what makes you feel loved, what makes you feel respected, and what makes you feel supported. By having these conversations regularly, you can build a shared understanding of what your relationship needs to thrive. You know, so much of boundaries can actually be replaced with just simple, healthy communication. And I cannot overstate this enough. So many couples don't work on their communication skills, and they're actually the easiest skills to be able to learn. Once you're able to regulate your emotions and be able to communicate just those two things in general, you'll be able to master any conversation. And instead of having to lay down the law, you'll be able to have an open conversation with your partner about your feelings without having to put your foot down in a manipulative way. And remember, there are going to be times when these conversations are going to be misinterpreted by your partner as you trying to control them or manipulate them into something that they don't want to do. And conversations like this do have the possibility of getting heated. So if you do want a deeper dive into how to de-escalate heated conversations in a healthy way, then I will leave you with this video right here. I'll see you over there.